Episode 20. Mike Rupp joining us with the legend Brian Gionta, who basically sets our schedule for us. Rupper, good morning.
Good morning, fellas. Good to see you again. I haven't seen Gio in a while, man. It's been some time. So good seeing all you.
Yeah,
You guys-
I think last time was NHL Network 4 or 5 years ago. Whenever I was down there.
Yeah, man. It's been a while.
You guys won a cup together, right?
I won a cup because
we
of
did.
Rupper. Let's put it the right way, Petey.
Say that again?
I won a cup because of Rupper. Let's get it straight, buddy.
Goal and assist in Game 7 doesn't hurt, eh, Rupper?
No big deal.
Hey, a goal and 2 assists. Hey, I didn't get too many points. I gotta get every single one counted. You know.
How many points did you have in the playoffs that year?
I only played 4 games. So I had the 3 points in Game 7, and I think in like Game 5 I had an assist. So I had 4 points.
I remember I played in Jersey. Obviously, you guys know that, but I played in Jersey, and Colin White said something to me about you, Rupper. He said the key to playoffs is fresh legs. And he said there was a time, he said, like, look at Mike Rupp. He's like, everybody was tired. Both teams were tired. He comes in Game 7. He's the freshest leg guy on the team, and he was flying out there.
Well, I mean, I think Gio could probably, I mean, all you guys can speak to it, but I'm just saying in that year in general, I mean, Gio was there from the get-go, and he played, you know, I don't know, what would you say? How many games did the team play in the playoffs that year? It had to have been, what, 20, probably 20?
Mid-20s. I'd have to check, but it's in that mid-20s. It was 5-7. So
yeah. So 24 games right there, and so when I'm coming in, I'm coming in game 20 or 20, or it'd be 21. Game 21, I'm coming in, and I remember distinctively, like, I came in, we lost that game. It was game 4 in Anaheim, and I remember coming in the locker room post game, and I had whatever. I took a stick and I had a little cut, and just going in there and icing an elbow from a slash or whatever. I mean, I played 1 game. It's like my first game I played in 2.5 months because I was a black ace prior to that. So, I come in the locker room and I'm just looking around and I'm like, how I felt after that game. I was like, can you imagine if I played the 20 prior, the 21 prior that these guys played? And I'm looking around, I'm seeing all the veteran guys, ice bags on their knees, on their low back. I mean, they're just sitting there, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm fresh as a daisy. Like, this is an advantage for me. I got to use my legs. And at that time, for my size, I was a pretty good skater. So I'm like, I'm going to use this for my advantage. I'm like, I'm in a good spot here. And so I felt like, fresh as a daisy. It was a huge advantage. I don't know if any of that happens if I'm not fresh. If I had to go through the grind that you guys did, it just felt like I was able to do things that other guys on the other team were struggling with because of the grind. And we've all been a part of that grind, man. The fans don't realize, like,
Brutal.
I remember you come into training camp some years and you see a guy absolutely jacked and chiseled in training camp, put on, 10 pounds of muscle in the off season. You take a picture of that guy after a Stanley Cup run at the end of the year, his face is sunken in, depleted. The guy looks like he lost 20 pounds. I mean,
Bags under his eyes.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, right? Like, it's an incredible process. So yeah, man,
There's not a player, I think, in the NHL
fresh
back in the day that after 15, 20 games of an NHL season, I don't think there's too many guys that are not playing without an injury or bumps or bruises or aches or whatever you're going to have to take care of. It's a long season. It's demanding.
No, it is. It is, man. It's we could probably name some teammates. We won't, but name some teammates maybe you didn't like to play through them. But there's most of the guys did, right? Most of the guys played through them all the time, and it's incredible some of the things you see. And it almost kind of sets the bar, right? You don't ever sit there and think I can't play because usually you have a team.
What year did you win that?
2003.
So did you have Vladimir Malakhov on your team?
No,
not on that team. He came after. He was, I want to say Mally was like 05-ish, somewhere in, like after the lockout maybe, or just before the lockout.
So you guys didn't play with him?
I played with him, yeah.
Gio did, yeah.
Like, how about that body? That is what you call a freak of nature, God hockey body, right? He's 235 pounds. He's 6'4", effortless skater, powerful beyond power. If he had a toenail that was sore, he ain't playing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Sorry,
it's true.
Vlad, but I mean, sorry, bud.
I mean,
I hope
times
he hears this.
I hope he does too.
No.
Because I was a young guy in Montreal watching this guy. I'll give you a great story throwing guys under the bus. I'll throw them under the bus because it's disgusting. Okay. This guy hurt his knee.
Already.
He hurt his knee in Montreal. Okay. So he rehabilitated after his surgery and he started on the ice. You know, most guys after a surgery like that would take a couple weeks, and you would work yourself back into shape. You would make sure that the knee was structured and felt fine. 2 months. 2 months. The boys on the team would go out to the bench, not tape our sticks in the room. We would all sit on the bench and watch this absolute freak of nature skate around the ice. Like, I mean, he was probably the best skater I've ever seen and I've ever played with, okay? Watching this guy at 235 pounds effortlessly get around the ice. And we've been watching this literally for 2 months. And we're like, Vlad, little sore. I'm like, All-Star break comes. Mount Tremblant. He's downhill skiing. How stupid
Isn't this the one they caught it? It was in like the papers and stuff, wasn't it?
Listen, this is Montreal. They have media members everywhere. And this guy who we needed immensely, he was without question our best defenseman. He was a man-child of a hockey player, incredible. And I'm telling you, he was that type of guy that would not play unless he was 100%. 100%. That man right now is walking around at age 50 years old, and I'm going to tell you, he has no aches and pains. None. Sorry. I had to get it off my chest, but I mean, ridiculous.
So you're saying blown motivator cuff.
Oh, ridiculous.
Torn cartilage.
He was absolutely incredible. He was an incredible defenseman. But again, you know, watching him over my course, and I was a young guy in Montreal at the time, but watching him, you know, pull himself out of lineups here and there because, like, I mean, these ridiculous little injuries, like, I mean, it was not good. So anyway,
you don't get the, like, not many guys have that ability to kind of pull that, right? Or even to choose. I don't know. I felt like there's times you can't even choose if you're healthy enough to play. Not that the team was saying you're playing no matter what. It's like you felt, I think, to what you're saying, like, I felt responsible to my teammates to play, right? And so, like, even like, you know, I think all of us would be under that umbrella. And like, you know, Gio, by the time you were able to maybe, you know, be like, hey, I need a day. You know, I'm a little banged up. At that time, you're captain of the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
You can't do it now.
Yeah.
Like, you got to lead even more. So, you know, we've all had teammates like that, Ribs, man. It drives you nuts, right? I had a teammate. I won't name this guy, but I had a teammate the one time. It was actually in Jersey. So, you know, I don't know, Gio might be able to put this together. I remember the one day I was like, how you feeling? Just looked sick, right? My nose is running. Like, my nose is running. I feel like I got a cold. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. He ended up not playing that night. And I'm like, what? And it was like one of the guys we leaned on. And I'm like, wait, what? You got a runny nose? Like, oh my gosh, look at, you know, John Madden's got his face sewn together. You know, and you're sitting here looking around. Colin White played the second half of his career with one eye. You know what I mean? like, you know, so you got those things. I'm like, whoa, okay. And, you know, some guys, I guess, just had that cachet, I guess.
Which stint in Jersey was it? The first one or the second one?
I can't say that.
I was just trying to narrow it down because I know you did a couple tours in Jersey.
But again, you go through your career, and you know, I know things. You know, when I came in, it was 94, 95 was my first pro year. Played a few games in the NHL and got a little bit of taste of what the NHL was about. And you go through those years when you're a younger guy, and I'm watching guys like Mike Keane. You remember Mike Keane?
Yeah.
And Lyle Odeline, and these guys literally, you'd have to saw one of their legs off for them to be out of the lineup. They were the warrior beyond warrior. And then there's, you had some other guys that I just think back, I'm like, what the heck is this guy out of the lineup for?
But like Rupper said, there's an evolution to your career too, right? Like, young guy, you'll play through anything.
Yeah.
Like, at least I'm sure there's different people, but like my setting and probably all of us on this panel, you would have played through anything to keep your spot in the lineup, to keep playing.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think so. I think I was just happy with the paycheck and the healthy scratch, to be honest with you. I'm just being – if I didn't have to go – I mean, you know how happy I was some nights when I was like, they'd come in and they'd be like, you're out tonight. I'd be so happy because you just don't have to line up beside someone.
You're in a much different scenario.
Quick workout.
Your life's on the line every game because you're going out there to fight somebody. Like you, Rupper, even – I don't know if Riv's ever fought, but – pretended to fight, but like that's a much different mindset going into a game for sure, man. I'm going out there to have fun, try to score and get some points and play the game, and you're going out there thinking of the guy across from you is going to try to kick your ass. You know what I mean? It's way different, man. Way different.
Gio, this might be a tough question for you to answer, and I do want to go back. I have a question about the Stanley Cup, the team that you guys were on, and something that happened after you got smoked in Anaheim. But I want to go back just quickly to something we're talking about. When was the last time hockey was fun for you guys? Like before there was like Rupper, you and I, we fought heavyweights. Riv, you fought a lot. Gio, you scored goals, so it must have been fun to play. So I'm going to exclude you from this conversation for a second. And maybe it doesn't even need to exclude you, but Rupper, I think back and I'm like, the last time that I truly remember playing hockey freely without having to worry about my safety was in that rookie tournament that we played in before the OHL draft.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Like after that, it's like you come into junior and it's like, okay, you're 6'4", you want to get noticed. You got to start fighting. You got to start fighting.
Yeah. I think by the time there's that part of it too, but then there's also kind of the insecurity as a player where, you don't know when it's going to end, and so I think fans would be really shocked when you can view some players as superstars and they still don't know if they're going to be in the league the next year. You know what I mean? And that's a mental grind. It's not fun. You know what I mean? So by the time I got to the point where I'm like, oh, I can actually have some fun here. My last, when it was the most fun, to be honest, it was my last couple years when I was playing with the Minnesota Wild, my last 2 years, because it was fun because this sounds weird, but I had a knee injury. I'm just playing out my contract. I knew I wasn't going to sign again. I couldn't physically play. And so it took the pressures out of it. And now I was just hanging out with the boys, you know what I mean? On the road, in the locker room, trying to crack. I'm trying to soak up all of that camaraderie stuff that everybody misses. And then it was really fun. I'm in practice, hooting and hollering, and because there's no pressure. I know I'm not going to play anymore because I can't. You know what I mean? So that was probably the most fun I had was my last couple seasons.
Rivs and Gio are smiling while you're saying that. Why is that?
Well, I think I know where Rivs is going with his point of having where he had the most fun. It was semi-pro.
That right there, man. I'm gonna tell you, I had my first child at 28. And from 20 to 28 was like, oh my God, boys. Like, it was sick. It was unbelievable. Saturday night in Montreal, okay?
Yeah.
And get a big win. Did the boys play hard for that Saturday night win? I'm telling you that the level.
I wonder what the record was on Saturday nights in Montreal for the
you have to look that up because it is a big deal.
Well, and it was in the days when you didn't have guaranteed days off either, right, Riv? So you had to go and earn you had to earn your Sunday off. So you're going into Saturday and you're like, man, this is a great time for a day off. We don't play until Tuesday. If we get a win, we're getting the day off, and it's go time.
Yeah. It's amazing how millionaire athletes, just sit back and the smallest things make them tick. They're already getting big paychecks, but a day off or those little segment bonuses that you would get back in the day, or like, I know they did them in Jersey because I remember hearing about them, but
they meant more than your actual contract. I'm not kidding you when I say this.
Yeah.
Those segment bonuses in Montreal, and you might get like an extra, $1,000, or if you had a really good week, you could be more than that. But it was out of sight, out of mind money. And it was like guys were working so hard. If you shut these guys out tonight, that's going to be another 250 into the pot. It's crazy. Yeah, thinking back to, my favorite places and I don't think there's a favorite place. I really enjoyed the minors. My first year being on my own, living in an apartment together, it was unbelievable. Like, I showed up to Fredericton, New Brunswick, and I ended up getting an apartment, and what a dump. Like, I was paying $125 a month. Figure it out.
What?
100.
Were you splitting it with somebody?
Yes.
For cable?
All right.
Yeah. So we were paying $250 a month in rent. I paid $125. Canadian. Okay.
What kind of a place does that get you in Freddie, by the way?
Oh man, listen.
I gotta know.
It had carpet in one of the rooms, and the amazing thing is, so once my roommate and I both made the team, now we had to furnish the place, and you didn't want to send stuff out from Ontario where I was from. So now we're gonna drive to a place. I think it was called Leon's.
Canadian for sure.
Okay, is that a Canadian place, Leon's Furniture?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're going to this big Leon's place to pick up the couches and beds and tables and chairs and the whole shoot match. And on our way, we pull off to this little, it's a little, a garage sale. Like, we're looking at this couch, $50. I'm looking at the couch. I'm like, we're going to have to smoke bomb this thing if we're going to buy this. And we're like, yep, let's do it. Boom. Throw it in the back of the truck. We get it there. As we're driving back to the apartment, there's a chair on the side of the road. A chair on how people are putting
Pick it up.
We picked it up. I swear to God, we had to put a blanket over it for a year, but it was like, oh my God, it was unbelievable how we didn't spend any money on that either. It was great. So many great memories of the start of things to trying to get into the National Hockey League, and then all the phases after that. It's so much fun. Whether it's the good, bad, the ugly.
Did you guys ever do the I remember when I was playing in Albany, there was the Walmart had the no questions asked return policy. And the move was the guys would get together. So you have 3 roommates in an apartment, right? I'm sure this is a common thing around. And guys would sit there before the year started, and they'd be like, all right, here's the deal. We're going to get the sickest setup here. We're going to get the biggest TV at Walmart. And we're going to keep the box over in the corner of the apartment, and we're going to have this thing. And I think it was like a 90-day no questions asked return policy. So you'd get that. The guys would get like speakers. The guys would get all these things, and they would just keep all the boxes. So then when that 90 days got up, packed it back up, brought it back, not a question asked, got it returned. The next roommate, bang, go buy another TV, come in. They did that all year. So the guys would have a 6 setup. So whenever it was like watching football or watching anything on Sundays, it's like the place to go. It didn't cost them a dime all year. It was incredible. Like all the little weasel moves that you do just to save a few bucks.
The funny thing is, it's amazing. I cannot believe that you just said that, because myself and the guy that I was with, Mark Lamoth, who we both played for the Kingston Frontenacs in junior. Okay. I was the third rounder. He was the fourth rounder. We ended up making the Fredericton, New Brunswick American League team. So, like I told you, we go and get all our stuff. It's disgusting. Like, I mean, it's disgusting. The only thing I got a bed, and I paid for a bed and sheets and all that, so I'm not sleeping on. But anyway,
you didn't get the sheets on the side of the road.
We were using plastic forks for a year, the whole shoot match. Here's the best part about it. Now that Ruppert's bringing this up, it's incredible. Were you a junior hockey player?
Yeah.
Okay.
Holy, do your homework before we have a guest on.
So we go. So I am so
Harvard.
excited.
I played at Harvard.
Yeah. So I'm so excited about our setup and just even having furniture and the whole shoot match. We go over to a couple of the boys that are literally just down the, like 10 seconds from us around the corner. And it's Craig Conroy, who was a Clarkson grad, Scott Fraser. You remember Scott Fraser? He was a Dartmouth guy. And the other guy was our captain was Craig Ferguson. Okay. These are three college guys. I go in their house and I was like, what the hell? I mean, just like you said, brand new leather couches and chairs, brand new table, huge, TV on the wall. Like, it was like decked out like you wouldn't believe. And I was thinking to myself, what the heck? How'd these guys get this? I guarantee you they did exactly what you just said.
100%. Guys used to do it with PlayStations. You get PlayStations too. You get 3 PlayStations for the apartment. Each guy gets their own, and then next thing you know, after 90 days, return it. You go across town in Albany to the other side of town and go to another Walmart so you don't get caught. You just get it again for 90 more days. I mean, you do that 3 times, season's over, you go home in the summer, you don't have to pack up anything, you just return it all to Walmart.
Oh my!
Just making hockey players look so honorable, eh?
In the minors, it's way different. That paycheck is way different in the minors.
There's a saying from one of my favorite movies, Super Troopers, where he says, "Desperation is a stinky cologne." That's life in the minors. A lot of Riv actually produced today's show. He came up with a whole bunch of topics, but before we move on to that stuff, because I want to get you your topics, your thoughts on the Olympics, because I don't think they're going. I've been told they're not going, so I'll tell you that I've been told they're not going. I don't know if you guys have heard the same, but I know they're trying to delay it because they have a month. But before we get to that, I was you two guys, Rupper and Gio, when you won the cup, it was against Anaheim, correct?
Yes.
So did you lose game 6 in Anaheim by was it lopsided, like 5 or 6-1 or something like that? Can you remember that by chance? Because it was game 7. You guys won it at home in game 7, correct?
Yeah. It was we won. The home team won every game in that series.
Korea game. That was the Korea knocked out.
Coming back from being knocked out. Was that game 6?
That was game 6, wasn't it?
I think maybe game 5 was at home. We won. Game 6 might have been Korea. When was Brodeur dropping the stick? Was that like
that was game 6?
Game 6,
wasn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah,
was that
I think it was
3
like
or 4?
I think it was like I don't know, buddy. That's a good question. I thought it was a little bit closer now, but it may have been a few goals.
Well, let me hang on. I want to go back to something. You said Korea. What were you guys thinking when you saw Korea down on the ice and then come back and score that goal?
Well, we thought he was dead.
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah. And
then he miraculously came to life, comes off the ice. He's clearly concussed, beyond concussed. How is it possible that he came back?
Comes back, gets an opportunity from outside, clapper inside the elbow on Marty, glove side. Like, incredible. What a goal, you know? And this is the story I remember pretty vividly. Was we were leaving the arena there in Anaheim. You have that ramp, right? And you're in the bus, and the way it's, I was a rookie, so it was me and whomever. I was doubled up, is the point. I'm doubled up in the seat in the front because towards the front because I'm a rookie. But Scotty sat towards the front of the bus too, and so he would always sit directly across from me. And Scotty was one of those guys who would, read a book. He'd have, he'd be busting that late at night, going to the airport, whatever, and you'd have the little light above him and whatever. He's sitting there, and I just kind of lean over, and I said to him, I go, Scotty, I'm like, you really got him, huh? Like, oh, like you got him. And he just leans into me, and he goes, Rupper, I'll be honest, I let up at the last second. I'm like, and he like, we're like, our faces are close. He's like whispering this to me across the aisle. And I literally just like, oh, and I lean back. I'm like, oh my God, what do you mean you let up? He's like, at the last second, I didn't follow through on the hit. And I'm like, I mean, in all seriousness, like, you know, we joke about it, but like, can you imagine if he actually followed through? I mean, heaven forbid, like, someone could have died that night.
Was that the same year he caught Lindros too?
Well, he caught Lindros cutting it across the middle once or twice for sure.
Times.
Yeah, but there was
he did that back when I want to say, was that their path in 2000? Did they go through Philly?
Oh, maybe it was 2000. Yeah, it might have been 2000. Yeah, okay.
No, it wasn't in that. It wasn't in that playoffs there.
Yeah, okay. The reason why I brought that up was, and maybe this story's someone told me this. I didn't actually ask Marty himself, but he and Marty Brodeur and Jim McKenzie were really good buddies, right? And I was told that Marty let in some bad goals that night, and Jim McKenzie gets on the bus after the game, and you guys are getting ready to fly back, and Game 7's back in Jersey in a couple of days, and Jim McKenzie gets on the bus, and the bus is quiet because now the series is so uncertain. And I think he said he got on the bus, and he goes, and Marty was at the back of the bus. He was already on the bus, but because he hadn't played that well that night, Jim McKenzie goes, "Hey, is Marty here? Anybody see Marty? I didn't. Did Marty even make it to the game tonight?" And they laughed. They laughed about it because that was their relationship. Yeah. And next thing you know, here they are, Stanley Cup champs. Now, I don't know if you guys ever heard that story or not. But
that's interesting.
I don't know if you guys ever heard that story or if can confirm that story. But I mean, knowing and hearing about their relationship, I can.
Yeah, for sure. They're super tight, for sure. But like Rupper said, right? Like at that time, we're both young guys.
I was at the front of the bus. That happened in the back.
Okay, all right.
That was back in the pit.
Hey,
you were doing one of these, Rupper. You're doing one of these. You're about to turn around, and someone's like, "Turn around, Rupper."
Which way's the bus facing?
Yeah, which way's the bus facing? No, that's true. But to be honest with you, and like now when I even was at the Marty's golf outing before the season started, I mean that it does sound accurate. Jimmy and Marty are really tight to this day, and he would say that. And that's Jimmy was at this unbelievable sense of humor and the ability. I mean, I don't know what you thought. I mean, Gio, you were young at that time too.
Yeah.
I mean, you were pretty green in the league as well, and we had veterans on that team that would just like take any kind of nerves, and it was out the window. You know what I mean? Like story time and all these things. Dano was unreal. We had a lot of great guys like that. So
Randy McKay.
He was traded. He was in the. He was traded the year before because it was Mackey. It was Randy and Arnott for Langenbrunner and Neuendijk.
That's right.
At the deadline the year before, and then those guys had that year.
Okay.
They went. That was a switch the year before, so Mackey wasn't on that team. Okay. I played with Mackey. Great guy.
You guys played with Lipper too, huh? Langenbrunner?
Yeah.
Did Rupper, were you did he win that? Was he on that cup team with you guys, or was he there before? Yeah, I guess he was. Unbelievable captain. Unbelievable captain.
So hey, quick Game 6, Rupper. I'm sure you remember, but maybe a story that hasn't been told on that. So it's Anaheim, Jersey. So you fly in, it's one day in Anaheim, time change and all that. Pat Burns comes up with, I'm assuming Pat Burns, someone came up with the idea that they are going to keep us on Eastern Standard Time, not mess our bodies up. So we woke up, what time was it? We woke up at like 6 a.m., which would have been like your normal 9 o'clock wake-up call Eastern Time to do a team stretch out by the pool in Anaheim to try to keep us on Eastern Standard Time and not mess our bodies up for Game 6. And like you said, Petey, I don't know what the final score of that game was, but it clearly didn't work. It clearly didn't work. So we should have done our normal routine. But I remember that them trying to kind of reinvent the wheel, and it's Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and you're trying something so out of the box that I don't know.
That's what you remember. Even like when we were flying back for Game 7, and you talk about some of the crazy stuff that happened. So we're flying back for Game 7, and for Game 6, because there was a potential closeout game, we had all of our families on a different flight that were brought out, right? And do you remember this, Gio? Like the idea was like, all right, when we get back into Jersey, you're going to go to, because we stayed in the playoffs every home game, we stayed in a hotel. at home. And so they're like, when we land, you have time to go home, get your bags or get what you need for tonight. And, we're going to, then come check into the hotel. Do you remember the family plane was delayed? They were sitting on the runway or the tarmac for like ever. And the idea was, and it wasn't confirmed, but they got on the plane before us and their plane was getting ready to take off. And
Lou made a call.
Rumor had it that Lou was like, no distractions. He didn't want them to land before. So we went home and like had anybody talk about anything else. So he held them up on the runway for like a couple, like I swear it was like a couple hours.
Yeah.
So we could fly in, we'd land. And then he's like, everybody go get your stuff, go to the hotel. So we went home to an empty house. Nobody was there, no distractions, no conversations about anything else, and get to the hotel. So that was another play where Lou just wanted everybody to focus on playing the game. That one worked. That one actually worked.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some current stuff going on. I was told, like I just said to you guys, I was told that the players they're not going to go to the Olympics, but they're talking about it right now at the Board of Governors meeting. So it's not for sure, but what do you guys think about this, Rupper? Like, what are you thinking about going to the Olympics? Good idea, bad idea? Where are you at?
I mean, the fan in me wants to see it. It's fun to talk. Who's going to be on the team? It's fun to have bragging rights and kind of like, all that camaraderie stuff inside the room where you could talk some smack to each other. I don't know how you feel.
Turn
about
that
this.
around for you, Rupper. Gio, turn that around for you guys.
There we go. I don't know if
Looking around for something, Petey.
You got Canada,
it's a
US.
makeshift American flag. Yeah, it's like trees on it and stuff. But anyways, there's no benefit. I don't know, Gio. I don't want to I know you were a part of Team USA a couple times and it's I don't know why it's, first of all, just from the players' experience, you're going to go over there and be locked down. Like, are you really going to, I mean, Gio, you were there. So I don't know. I don't know.
It was two completely different scenarios. When I went with the NHL guys, you were on your own, isolated. It literally, you fly in after opening ceremonies, you get your practices in, and then you start your round robin play. And then as soon as you lose, you're out of there right back to your team. So it didn't feel like the Olympic experience. When I went in 2018, it was way different. You're there before opening ceremonies. You go participate in that. You're around the village and around other athletes way more. It was a much different experience. I love both of them. Listen, if I was in the NHL today, I would want to be going and represent my country. I know that it's a lot of whether it's political on that side as far as what's going on with China and whatnot, but it's the pandemic has added a huge layer to it. And now your season, which the last 2 years have been interrupted, your NHL season, it's hard to leave. It's hard to go and justify going to that and putting all that at risk. But I'm sure the players want to go and represent your country because it's one hell of an experience to do.
I think
it's a very difficult situation to go over there. And we talked about this before, the IOC and, their playbook and what they're telling the players and how they have to be testing over there. And here's the thing. I mean, we talk about a scenario that, let's say you go all the way to the semifinals and then all of a sudden you test positive for COVID and you have no symptoms, you feel fine, but you test positive for COVID. You're there for 3 weeks after quarantining.
Yeah.
3 weeks. All the teams flying back to North America to go back to play for their teams. And you're going to have that one guy that tested positive and he has to stay there for 21 days. How would a team allow their player to go over?
I agree. And I think just from the day-to-day hockey operations from NHL teams individually, but collectively, I just don't see there's zero benefit. There's zero benefit for the NHL. We know that's a huge piece, right? And but you can also look at it from the standpoint of it. I don't know how much this plays into it, but you have this new rights holder deals that have been had. Why, if there was ever a time to force your way through, it would have been when NBC had hockey and NBC had the Olympics. why would these new rights holders who've stepped up to the table and paid this? I mean, they've got to have some input on this too. Why would ESPN and Turner want kind of their product to be on display on NBC? You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. Like, why would that? Then that's got to be a wrinkle in this too. I mean, but just even from the standpoint of what you said, Ribs, like, can you imagine for a second here, if Alex Ovechkin goes to the semifinals and he tests positive, and he's got to stay there for 3 weeks, and the Washington Capitals don't have him when they returns? I mean, maybe they're a team that can deal with that because they've set themselves up nice. But how about with those teams that are on the bubble of the playoffs? And you're not going to have that guy? Are you kidding me? Like, there's nothing besides the fandom of watching the Olympics and wanting to see those guys play. There's nothing for me that makes sense for them to go.
Well, for the NHL, it doesn't make sense at all. As a business, it doesn't make sense at all. But did they not agree? Was this not part of those negotiations?
With Gary Bettman, right?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, was that not just part of those negotiations that they fought, trying to figure out all the pandemic pay and what was going to come out of it? I think that was a wrinkle that the players were really holding strong to. So the league might not want them to go at this point, but they have to try to massage it in a way that it's the player's choice and not dictated by the league. No?
Well, like, when it came up, go ahead, Petey.
No, you go ahead.
No, just like when it came up, remember when the stuff came out like a month or two ago and they said the players are going, and then it was like a day went by and it was like, I don't know if it was Elliott or Dregs or one of the insiders was like, oh yeah, there's an out clause for COVID purposes. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, these guys aren't going. Like, are you kidding me? Like it's already out. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean that like there was a plan of the league and they're trying to be sneaky. I think this we know that teams are still affected by this. We just saw what happened to the New York Islanders, the Ottawa Senators. I mean, you look at this. You need to have some cushion here for the NHL season to go off. And taking that time off could be detrimental for that to happen, which could back up next year. Like, we're finally getting to the point now where we're trying to get the season back on schedule. So next year we can go full 82 full time. So I just don't know how you mess around with that. So if COVID was completely non-existent right now with NHL teams, then I think you probably need to go. But since they have that out clause, there's nothing here that's showing me that, you know, there's no risk involved with the players going.
I don't think they should go. Okay. I think the players will be pissed, but at the end of the day, that's too bad. But I've never been a fan of the Olympics. I love the Olympic break because I wasn't an Olympian, but I think like a GM or an owner where I say, like, you look at the year Tavares went there. I can't remember which Olympics that was, but Tavares went there. The Islanders were on the bubble of making the playoffs when they went. Yep. Tavares blew his knee out. Done. They lost him for the year. And I think that is your prime example of why are we doing this in the first place, especially if there's no revenue coming back for it, you know? I mean, that's my own stance. But the COVID thing alone, the league shouldn't take any kind of heat, in my opinion, for backing out of the Olympics because, well, political reasons aside, COVID alone. I mean, just push it to the side and maybe consider the next one.
Well, and it's a league that's fighting for their revenue again, right? Like, they're trying to get back what they've the hit that they've taken over the last couple of years. You know what I mean? Like, and that was one of the things I don't know if it's on Rivs' thing, but like, you're talking Arizona and you're talking Pitt just gets sold. Some of these teams are in some major trouble that maybe we don't know about right now. And that has to be playing into the pressure points behind the scenes. That how are they going to make up from the losses that they've just incurred over the last couple of years? And certainly going to the Olympics does not help that at all.
Like, again, you just brought it up, Gio. Another topic is you have Arizona that didn't pay their taxes. And Glendale was going, where the arena was going to not allow the Arizona Coyotes into the building because they haven't paid their taxes. I mean, how is that even possible?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
That team, and guess what? I would be the first one to say that I enjoyed going to Arizona. I enjoyed going to Phoenix because it was like going on a little vacation for a day and a half, and you get a little bit of sun and get to hang out with Petey at some awesome restaurants. And we had an unbelievable rookie party there. It was awesome. But how is this team still in the league? Like a number of years ago, the NHL
They should have moved years
that team.
ago.
For 4 years, they owned that team before, and it's changed ownership multiple times. They're losing tons of money there. How are they not moved?
Yeah, no, it's you know what, I do like the fact that not at the first kind of hint of some hardship, because this organization has had that for a long time. It wasn't the knee jerkers to get this team out of here. I like that they tried to make it work. You know what I mean? But at what point is it like, all right, guys?
Well, how many years have they tried to make it work?
It's not sustainable here. I know. So I think we're at the point now where I don't know.
Rupper, I remember being at the Player Association meetings, and this was back, oh my God, 15 years ago. I remember being at the meetings, and we were talking about Phoenix Coyotes, and they're bleeding the NHL, and we're losing a ton of money in that city, which hurts everybody, right?
Yeah.
I don't understand at what point do you just Gary Bettman say, you know what, it was a great try, but it's not sustainable and it's hurting the league.
Yeah.
Well, at some point you got to look at what the benefit is. Where I don't see it. I haven't seen it in that, like you said, 15 years of them trying to maintain it and keep it going. It's a nice place to go. I think I don't know, Rupper, were we the same rookie party? I had my rookie party in Scottsdale there, Phoenix.
No, I wasn't there for that. My rookie party was in, we went to Hollywood, and that's, remember when Gomer went over, Courtney Cox was sitting at the table over, and Gomer's like, I'm going to go say something. So I went over there and started sparking up conversation with Courtney Cox. That's all I remember.
Come on. How did that turn out?
I think it was over after he said something and turned around and came back, sat down. But I know I agree with your Ribs. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's, I played there briefly. I loved it. It was the best place to play. But at the end of the day, the underlying numbers don't lie. Like it's not, and then you've got these other locations, right? You've got all, whether it's Quebec City, and you start getting in there with all this, it makes it, there's all these other spots that you've got to assume are better. So I don't know if this is the last. I mean, how many times
the best spot for the National Hockey League? What is it? The very best spot for a team to go in the National Hockey League. I have my thought. I want to see if anybody can guess it.
Toronto.
It's going to make the most money.
Another team in Toronto.
No,
that's not my suggestion. That's my guess of what you're thinking.
Hamilton.
No.
Absolutely.
I don't think they can. Isn't there something about
for sure
geographically between Toronto and Buffalo? I think there's some kind of
they would have to allow that team to go to Hamilton. Buffalo would never allow it because 30% of
that's half their fan base right there.
Yep. 30% come from Canada or Ontario, and Toronto they don't want anybody taking their revenue at all. But there is enough to go around if a team was in Hamilton, and they would make who's the highest grossing team in the league? Who's the highest grossing team in the league? Is it not Toronto Maple Leafs?
Probably Toronto, Montreal, New York Rangers, one of those teams. But
Chicago, those four teams.
Right. And what do they all have in common with Hamilton? Nothing. Nothing.
But hold on. I believe I agree with Rich here. It's like, I don't love that idea. I don't know. I mean, there'd be a lot of pushback on getting that. Yeah. But if there's a place that can support it, there's one place in Toronto 100%. Or outside of Toronto. So like, I think there'd be enough people there that it would be sold out all the time. They would. I mean, are you kidding me?
Ticket prices Toronto gets another team through the roof. It would be it would generate substantial revenue for the NHL.
Hamilton's got a much better. Sorry, go Ripper.
No, I just want to jump in there because what you said, Gio, like it definitely would hurt the Sabres, but think about how many times when you go to whenever Toronto's playing in Buffalo, how many you guys all played there. Like how many Toronto fans are in Buffalo? Like I remember when I was playing in Erie in junior hockey, we went up to see a Sabres Leafs game, and half the building was saying "Let's go Leafs," and it was "Let's go Sabres." You know what I mean? I was like amazed by that. So if they were to put, think of all those people, they would just be, they would, all the people, I guess my point, that in Toronto that can't get tickets. You know how hard it is. We know as players we couldn't get tickets sometimes going in there to play. So like all the people that never even get to go to the games in Toronto, here you go. Here's another team that'll fill up like in 2 seconds.
And what's going to happen in, a number of years, 5, plus years, that Hamilton team's ticket prices are going to be the same as Toronto because they're going to be packing the building. And then all of a sudden people are going to go back to Buffalo again because Buffalo has cheaper ticket prices.
Zero chance.
I agree, but I think it's got a much better chance of sustaining than Quebec City would. Hamilton for sure has a much better chance of sustaining.
The huge market.
City,
yeah, the market, just what it can sustain. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you'll have a decent fan base in Quebec City. I just don't know that it has the corporate. To
right. That's a good point. Yeah.
Be in that market to where Toronto. I think if it's Hamilton, I think you can sustain it for sure. But it'd be a big blow to. I don't think it'd be less of a blow to Toronto. It'd be a huge blow to the Sabres.
Listen, Quebec would absolutely be a fantastic spot too. We all know that the reason why Quebec was, moved to where'd they go? Avalanche, Colorado, was the Canadian dollar back in the day was absolutely off the chart. I mean, it was, Canadian teams at that time were losing money hand and fist just because of the Canadian dollar was so poor. But it's not quite the same anymore. Canadian teams are thriving, and Quebec, a team in Hamilton would be, significant for the revenue for the NHL.
I'll say one thing that might sound ludicrous before we move on. Personally, it has been a pleasure to watch the growth of the NHL from revenue to expansion teams. It's been incredible. I think when I was drafted, there were 28 teams. Rupper, Gio, we were in the same draft. I think there were 28 teams. Now there's 4 teams since, but even up to that point, there were a couple expansion teams that had just come in the league. Like Nashville was new, and there was somebody else, I think, too. And I just wonder, is the NHL too big, like too many teams? Like I sometimes, like football can sustain 32 teams. It's a mega sport. But I just wonder sometimes if the NHL, I don't want to say too big too fast, but just too big, period, for the amount of I guess popularity for it.
I don't know. I don't think it is. I don't know. I like the size where it's at now, and we know the magic number has been that 16 and 16 that we have now. I think it's more about where the places are at than the number. And so, I mean, anytime, I think we'd all probably agree, and it depends what that place is. I just remember back in the CBA talks when we were with the Players Association. I'm just making up numbers, so don't quote me on any of this. But I remember when we were sitting in there, we're talking about revenue. Remember, that was back when Chicago was reporting that they had no concession revenue or no parking revenue or no, like, they had nothing.
Didn't the PA
luxury suites?
Yes. Didn't the PA send a form and say, fill out all your revenue for the suite sales? And they wrote zero.
They put zero.
Yeah. And then because the suites were owned by another Wirtz company. Was that not how it worked? So that company was making the
it was not Chicago Blackhawks, right?
No,
it was, right. The suites weren't owned by the Hawks, right?
And the parking outside was owned by another company.
Yeah. So that, when that was kind of reported, but the thing that we learned at that time too was like of the teams in Canada. Again, I'm making this number up, but it was like the revenue, the league revenue that was generated by the Canadian teams ended up, it was like 40% of league revenue. Okay. So you have you have that's before Winnipeg was back there. So you had 6 teams making up 40% of league revenue. I'm sure that's changed to some degree up till now, but all that tells me is get more teams in Canada. You know what I mean? If there's a team struggling, get it to Canada. Find a place in Canada. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that's not going to stop the growth. I love the growth of the game in the United States. I think that's one thing that we can, it's been great. And like Vegas, home run, Seattle, home run. Those are going to be sustainable. Though, I mean, Seattle, honestly, I think you could throw a team in Portland and they would sell out all the time. They get 10,000 for their junior hockey team. They have for decades. You know what I mean? Like there's places, but you get teams in Canada. If those numbers are, again, making it up 40% for 6 teams, I'm sure it's still something very heavily favoring the Canadian teams right now. I'm a huge fan if they ever got a team back into Canada.
Suspensions. Where are you on the suspensions? Jason Spezza, 6 games, NHLPA filing a grievance on that one, or an appeal, I should say, not a grievance, but an appeal, same kind of thing, I guess. What do we think of this? I saw it late, and I don't know Jason Spezza to ever be this type of player. I didn't like where his knee hit Pionk, but I mean, I don't think he was intending to go and bury his knee into Pionk's head.
I probably not knee to head, but I think there is certainly obviously retaliation and
or like a body slam.
On hitting him hard.
He was going for him.
He
was going for him.
Listen,
you know
guys,
that wrestling move when you came from the turnbuckle and you kind of like came down on the guy and you were going to splash him? That, I think, was the intention. Jason Spezza was going to make a body check. It just so happened that, Pionk was in a vulnerable position. He was very low. Jason Spezza is going to make the hit, so he's going to body splash him. Just so happened that things happen so quickly. Like we get to slow it down, rewind, slow it down, rewind. In real time, this happens within 1 second. And he goes down to make a hit on Pionk, leads his knee just because of trying to brace himself and hits him in the head.
Ribs, you're in a D zone. Okay, you're in the D zone as a player. You have no stick in your hand, and you're skating towards the puck. What are you doing with the puck? Or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is the guy coming in?
Tell you right now, I'm not going down to swipe it with my hand like Pionk did. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
But if a player's skating towards the puck with no stick, with like authority, like he's going to do something here, 100%, he's getting down low, and he's going to try to knock this puck out of the zone with his hand. Like, I think Spezza looked at him like, oh, I'm going to lay this guy out. I don't think he meant to hit him with the knee. I think he's like, I'm going to light this dude up. And because of what happened, I'm going to light him up even more. And he committed to it. It was a nasty one. So I don't know what you guys think about the suspension. I thought it was much, but I don't even care what it was as long as it's consistent. The next one that happens, give it the same or give it more. You know what I mean? Because I just don't know what to make of anything anymore. I want consistency. I think that's what everybody wants. And so is 6 a lot? I think it is. But I don't care. Just
what
the next
should
one,
it be?
Let's get the same.
What would you be happy with in this situation?
I mean, I thought he should get anywhere from 1 to 3. I don't know. I mean,
I was going to say 2.
For it. Yeah.
I was going to say 2. I was going to say the same thing as Pionk. And I don't even look when you look at the Pionk hit on Sandin. The Sandin player made a real quick, hard cut to the middle of the ice. And there's no way in this world that Pionk was looking to injure or do something dangerous to Sandin. It just happens within seconds, and you have to react and make a decision. And it's almost like
it even looked that bad.
You don't want that Sandin to get by scot-free, so you have to try and take a piece of him, and that just kind of means leaning your leg out and trying to get a piece of him. It is a dangerous play. He is suspended for 2 games. I'm kind of okay with it. But to have Jason Spezza get 6 games for that is crazy.
I think it's what Rupper talked about. It's consistency. We wanted it within the game. Within the game, we wanted to know what you could get away with, what was okay, making sure that every call was consistent both ways. Then you knew how you could adjust and play. Yeah. Like if you come in and hit someone and it's a penalty, well, that better be a penalty on the other side when it happens. So I think this is just another way of that players are looking for consistency. They're okay with getting suspended as long as it matches what else is going on, and they're okay with it. They're okay with it being a split second. They're okay with it not being malicious, and they're okay paying the price for it. But it better be that way for everyone in the league. It better be that way every time it comes across.
So the NHL looks at this hit from Spezza as a predatorial hit. That's why he's getting
I think the retaliatory is a big piece of it too. You know, because what happened already
for sure.
So imagine if it wasn't Jason Spezza. Imagine it was Mike Rupp, Craig Rivet, or Andrew Peters doing it, and we might have got
Rafi Torres. That's a Rafi Torres.
We might have got 20 games because of the intent. I'll tell you who would have got 20 games. The guy who would have chopped Trevor Zegras' head off for trying that play behind the net in Buffalo the other night, about 15 years ago. Had he tried that shit, that would have been a free pass for death.
I had this conversation with my older son, Nate, who's 17, and he's, they're all on social media and they're watching all of the clips, every goal. Yeah. And, Nate couldn't wait when I got up in the morning to talk about this Trevor Zegras play, this what do they call it? The Michigan, where they pick the puck up, which these kids can do this at 9 years old. They can do this. No problem now. I still can't do it. But to do this and have the thought in your head to kind of just flip it over the net so a guy can bat it out of the air is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Where I have issue with this, and it's my old school, I'm just maybe a little bit more of the Bear situation, but the reaction of the kid on the ice, and then he's giggling, laughing on the bench, and he's hugging his buddy after. I'm going after this guy. That's going to be predatorial. I'm telling Gary Bettman right now, no one is going to disrespect like our team like that. I just can't believe that no one wanted to kind of like do something after that. Like the kid was giggling and laughing like he's like 10 years old. That's the issue that I have. The goal and what these kids are doing nowadays, I can't even believe it. The skill set and the confidence and cockiness to do these things. It's amazing.
We like it, Gio.
I love it.
Do we like it?
I love it.
I like it, but I agree with Rivs. When we were in the league, there's no way that everyone would be going for your gunning for you the rest of the game and the other games that you play them. The next time you play Anaheim, they're running Zegras. They're running. Yeah,
verbal abuse of that guy is going to go on.
You're paying a price for it.
You might get it from your own teammates too if you don't pull it off.
If I pull that off, right, and I'm acting like that, and listen, it is what it is. It's a form of disrespect to whatever, and so now I'm gonna have to stand up for myself. Yes, but Petey, my teammate, the guy that has to fight every night, he's going to have to pay for it too. So now when I'm in that room with my teammates, they're like, this jackass over here just made me have to go out and fight. And
you just hit it right on the
himself.
head. Absolutely.
Risk his career over it.
How about like, even to the standpoint, if I agree with that, and then the other side of it too, it's like, if you tried that, Gio, as a young player and missed it, and you had a guy in front of, because in all due respect, I actually like it, and I'll tell you why. The one thing I don't like about it, but Sonny Milano, he could have just taken Zegras could have taken a step to his left and passed the puck to him. There was no defenseman there. There was no one there. He could have put it on his tape. So he goes over the net. I love it. It was great. I love seeing it. But my point is, if he tried that and Gio, if you were a rookie, you tried that, and you had Joe Schmo, 9-year vet that was that guy in front of the net, Sonny Milano, you would get to the bench and this guy would be like, you ever do that again? Put it on my tape. Like, I think you'd get it from your team just as much as you'd get it from the opposing team.
For sure. 100%. And I agree, Rupert. All he had to do was just go by the post and just tuck it to his teammate.
He was on his
all he had to do. That was terrible.
He was wide
coverage.
open. He was
terrible.
wide open.
Okay,
Terrible.
but here's the thing. Taking that all into account, what a goal.
Yeah.
What a goal. And I'm going to tell you right now, I love it. I love it. The game has changed. It's not the same anymore. You got to get out of our heads. This, the kid smiling on the bench. He's like hugging his buddy. I'm like, I'm sitting at home and I am super irritated. I literally am going back in my mind going, oh my God, if I was in this game, that kid would not finish. That kid would not finish. There's no way.
Yeah.
He's not going to sit there and giggle.
I love it.
And then all of a sudden I got to get out of my old stupid ways and go, this is amazing because this is the game.
Yeah,
it's changed. It's highly skilled. These young kids are trying stuff that not in a million years we would try back in the day or had the talent to do. So I love it.
That might be the most talked about thing all year in the NHL in the United States. You know what I mean? Like that was talked about on every platform, whether it's, a platform that talks about hockey or not. The sports world was talking about it. So, I mean, the growth of the game, I love it. I guess the one thing I didn't like about it is, can you imagine, I think we've all been in that position before. Can you imagine coaching youth hockey and the next day you're going out there and practice? And we're already seeing the videos.
Riz, we do.
Listen.
So when Patty Kane did in the All-Star game, remember, and he put the cape on and he did the Superman. You're trying to accomplish a practice plan, and these kids are like, watch this, they're sliding on there. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, so I love it. I think it's where the game's going, but it ruins practice plans for every youth hockey coach from, across from coast to coast for the next 2 months. They're all going to be trying to do the Trevor Zegras.
Listen, it's unbelievable you just said that. So Gio and I both coach 2 different age groups at the Junior Sabres. And I get to the rink the very next day, and I think it's a 10U team. There was a kid behind the net doing the Michigan, and another kid's on the other side, and they're picking the puck up. Like, I wouldn't be able to pick the puck.
No,
I can't do it. I don't know how they do it, if they have like sticky stuff on their tape, but these young kids, 10 years old, boom, do the Michigan, flip it in front, and they're trying to bat it out of the air in front of the net. And I'm just sitting here laughing my head off because, you're supposed to be working on your shot, a little stick handling. You got the 5 minutes free time at the start of practice, and these kids are trying the Trevor Zegras. And I love it. I love it because that is what's going to get them to love the game, is just this new style. And yes, go for it. Do it. Have fun.
Somewhere in the world that's already been tried in a youth game, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. Someone's already tried it. Has to.
Have you ever seen that before in the National Hockey League? Is that the first time that happened? I've never.
The Svechnikov thing was that he did. What did he try to do?
Eye-opening.
Twice.
He did it twice.
He did it twice. Yeah.
Yeah. He did it twice in 1 year. You guys talk about the smiling and the laughing and everything I watch a lot of NBA now with my son. He loves the NBA. And I think one of the things I love about the NBA is how much fun these players have on the court. I mean, they're always laughing. They don't play defense till the fourth quarter. I mean, it's just full out offense. And I think it makes the game enjoyable to watch. It really does. Like, I sit back and I watch, everyone's like, this is shinny hockey. And I'm just thinking, you know what though? Like, it's impressive to see where the skill level has gone in the last 10 years alone. 10 years alone. Yeah. I like the hits. Rupper, I don't know how you feel about the fights. I like that fighting's down. I like that the type of fights that I did are almost gone, the stage fights. But
absolutely.
But I mean, I just think it's incredible to see how much fun the players in the league are having, because when we played, there was too much teeth grinding. It was too much straight face. You got to be serious. You got, I always hated
game was
that.
Like that. I spent my entire career not smiling and just being far too serious. And, I look at these young guys and listen, who I hated the most? And this was a guy that was coming into the league when I was starting to come out, and I learned a certain way through the older players that were on my team before me. And the game was not about smiling. It was about putting your game face on, and it was war. And, you look at, PK Subban, he came into the league, and he was just dipsy doodling all over the place. Oh my God. It's unbelievable watching him skate, and he was very vocal and charismatic and the whole thing. And I was like, I couldn't stand that guy. I couldn't stand him because he was smiling in his interviews and everything was like a joke. And now that I'm away from it all and I'm not the player anymore, I highly respect PK Subban for what he's done and how he is as a person. He's built himself as a brand. And I think there's more players that need more.
I think PK Subban in the last few years has done a great job helping build the game.
Yeah,
personally, with his social media and love his antics or hate his antics. I mean,
we need more personality in this game.
Yeah,
we need more people to want to listen to these hockey players. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you listen to us back 10, 15 years ago, every interview was the same. It was serious. Yeah. You never let your guard down.
To some degree.
And it still is that way. It still is that way because the personality in the game right now, I think it's starting to change because the player that's coming in right now are younger. They're more naive. They're not as mature, and they're just insanely skilled young men. And it's a lot of fun. I hope they bring that personality out because I think the NHL needs it. I think the fans need it.
We were in the playoffs when I was in Pittsburgh playing against Montreal, and this was that was on that one run where Montreal had what was that? That was probably 2011. Was that when Montreal went on that nice little run? I think they went Eastern Conference Finals. And
Gio was the captain of that team. I think
we may have Rupper. We may have.
Yeah, Gio, you were. That was you and that was you and Gomer. Gomer was there too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to know exactly. I don't know what the situation like. PK did he not play? Because we were talking about it before, and Ribs, I got sidetracked. I sidetracked myself when you were talking about being fresh and coming into the playoffs. And Chris Kreider was that for us in New York in 2012, and he literally won us 2 series because it was just he never played an NHL game. He was fresh as daisy. But anyways, back to that year.
Is that when he took out? Is that when he took out Price? Was it that one too? Did we battle then too, Rupper?
No, no.
Was that the year he? No, 14. That might have been like 14 when he took out Price.
So, but anyways, talking about that Montreal Pittsburgh series, I'm pretty sure PK didn't play a regular season game. Was his first NHL game in the playoffs in that series, or maybe he played a game or two.
Yeah.
Anyways, he had like single digit games played in the NHL. I know that for sure. And so we're out there, and Kevin Weeks is I know Gio, your boys with them too, but Weeksy was always talking up PK to me. This kid can play. He's different. His personality, all these things. So I'm like, all right, whatever, and keep an eye on him. Because we all want to see the game grow, and so in this series though, he's every line change there's a whistle. PK skating past our bench. He's just looking at our bench. He's not saying anything. He's not making a weird face. He's just staring at people on the bench. And it started, guys are like, what's this kid looking at? Like, what's this kid looking? And I don't know. It's just the old school nature and the hard-headedness, that we were always taught as a team in the game of hockey. But it was like, I remember standing up and all of us started losing our minds. Like he would just skate off the ice, just looking at our bench and going to his bench. And all of us are like, what are you looking at? You look at like, dude, we're losing our minds because he's looking at us. Like this feels like we're in kindergarten. You know what I mean?
When someone's looking at you, that means what do you want to go?
Yeah. So we're like, what's this cocky? Blah 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 blah. And we wanted to kill him, and he was really good for you guys. Like I think he scored a couple goals in that series, and he was great. I remember I called Weeksy after the one game, and I go, I don't know. I know you talked to him. You tell this kid, it was just like after the series, I'm like, you tell this kid in the offseason, he's going to get himself killed in this league if he keeps asking like that or acting like that. I want to see him, this personality and this stuff survive, but like, this ain't going to work. And it was just like this, I think we all have to come to grips, like things have changed. And that was it for me. Like he got under our skin just by doing nothing. I mean, it's like, it's PK and he was good.
What happens if PK in today's game 2021, skates by the bench and does the exact same thing, and he looks at the bench. You're gonna have
Nothing.
three guys
Absolutely
going, PK,
Nothing.
hey, man.
Yeah.
Like, hey, loved your
Yeah.
loved your Twitter, your tweet last night is hilarious.
Listen, Rupper, though, we were doing the same thing on the other bench. We're like, PK, cut it out. Like, you better stop. Like, this is we're in a series right now. Like, we
It was just
close the
different. We
igloo
never
for you
seen that.
guys. You know what I mean? Like, we're like, you
Yeah.
better get your head on straight. You've been here 4 games. You don't stare down their bench. Like, you got
Yeah.
Crosby over there. You're waiting to ignite him. Like, just stop. You know what I mean? So we're yelling at him too. You're yelling at him. Everyone was yelling at him. He's just like it ain't.
Yeah, I mean that's what he'd do.
Yeah.
He'd finish a shift and then he would just like say in at the igloo, our bench, the blue line right in front of our bench, and he would be that right D right there. Okay, so whistle happened. Say the Flower froze the puck. He would turn around, so he's like 3 feet, and you just skate and like literally this is all you see. He skates by the bench. He's just like looking at each guy like this, up and down the bench, and I'm like, what are you looking at? I'm gonna kill you. You know, like, and everyone's losing their minds. We can't even focus. I'm like, this guy's kind of a genius, actually.
Rupper, I don't want to. We've been going for a little bit over an hour here. I don't want to keep you on for too long, much longer, I should say. But I need you to tell me a story about Sidney Crosby. And the reason why is when I played in the league, I was all Ovi. I hated Sid. And then when I left the league, I grew to love Sidney Crosby more and more and more and more. And I just think he's the classiest. And I think he's the greatest hockey player to ever play. Period. End of story. You can say Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Bobby Orr, Gordie Howe.
Wow.
But to me, Sidney Crosby is the greatest player. Just you know what, Riv? Why don't you hit mute? In fact, you know
Listen,
what?
Rupper was doing the same thing. Why are you muting me?
Because he's our guest. But tell me a Sidney Crosby story. Like, what's he like?
Yeah.
I mean, because here's a guy I never hear about, I never read about. You never see anything about him behind the scenes unless it's like an exclusive interview. I've never heard about him ever having an alcoholic beverage. I've never heard anything about this guy.
No, I've seen him have an alcoholic beverage before.
Yes, that's what we're talking about.
He's a guy.
I want to hear shit-faced stories. Let's go. We'll delete it. I swear to God, we'll delete it.
All right. So
fingers crossed.
Here's the thing I learned really quick with Sid. And I went there and I was like, he was already Sidney Crosby at that point. And I came from New Jersey and went to Pittsburgh. And it's kind of like, you're just trying to, we all been to new teams and you're just trying to see how you slot in and fit in socially even. So I come in there and Billy Guerin's there. And they just won the Cup the prior year. And the one thing I learned really quick, and this goes on ice as far as playing the game, Sid doesn't want to be deferred to. Don't defer to him. Don't defer to him. He's one of the guys, like on the ice, you got to play with him. It's not, I'm going to where's Sid? I got to give him the puck. You know what I mean? No, he doesn't want that. That's why some of the best players that have played with him and the best chemistry has been like Chris Kunitz, Pascal Dupuis. You've had these guys that are straight line guys, simplistic guys. They're predictable in what they're going to do. And but they're also like Jake Gensel. He'll shoot the puck. Like he's not going to like, oh, where's 87? I got to give him the puck. So that's one thing. Socially, what I learned real quick is he just wants to be one of the boys. Don't treat him special. Don't treat him like he's anything different. And that was an eye opener for me is like Billy Guerin would just rip on him. And I'm like whoa,
what would he say? What's he saying?
And Sid loved it because think about it from the standpoint. And Sid never like said anything to me about it, but like think about being treated like whether it's Connor or Sid being treated differently from like the age 11, 12 on. Like no one's going to talk. Everyone's talking to you with like a different, it's not like a normal, you know what I'm saying? It's like, whether it's,
I know the way they feel.
Whether it's whatever, they're treating you like different. You're treated differently.
People didn't talk to you, Rip, because you were a dick.
Billy would. You guys remember what movie was that with David Arquette? Wow, we got a couple. Arquette. You got Courtney Cox and David Arquette in the show.
Got the whole Arquette family
David
here.
Arquette. What show was the? Was that scary? What scary was the scary movie with Doofy? Do you remember Doofy?
Special Officer Doofus.
I
told you not to bother me when I'm vacuuming my room.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I'm like, I hear Billy on practice being like, Doofy. And I'm like, who's he calling for? He's calling for passes. I find out he's talking to Sid. And if you look up Doofy, I can see the resemblance a little bit. And Billy's calling him Doofy. I don't think Sid liked it, but I think he just wanted to be one of the boys. So he wants to be razzed on like everybody else. He's not untouchable. And you see the things he does. Like you get on the road, like it's so easy to be like, oh, that guy's a great guy. That guy's a great guy. That guy's a great guy. He's a normal dude. And I'll tell you this, in playing in Pittsburgh, and I know in different places, I think I was a nobody when in the league, a fourth line, grinder. I go to Pittsburgh. I swear to you, every single day, whether I go to Target or I'm running into Dick's for something, or you're going to eat somewhere, Rupper, I'm like, so I remember thinking to myself the one day when we were going actually to Arizona, and Sid was going to go to the mall, that Fashion Square Mall or whatever in Arizona, and he was asking some guys if they wanted to go, and he wanted to do some Christmas shopping. It was right before Christmas, and I remember I asked him, I'm like, I get recognized every day in Pittsburgh. Like, can you even he couldn't even go to like CVS. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't even go. His life was different. That's why he wanted to be treated like one of the dudes. So you rip on Sid, you give it to Sid. He may give it back. Like, we don't always see that side of him, but it's there, dude. He's funny. He's good. You can rip on him. Yeah, you get on the road. He wants to. All right, boys, let's go play mini golf. He's like, anybody want in? We're going to go, whatever, $50 a hole, or, you know what I mean? Like, he's one of the guys. He just wants to be one of the guys. And I wish that's a side that people would see. All the people out there that are like Sid, they call him a whiner and this thing. Oh, get out of here. Everybody would love Sid. He's one of the boys through and through.
Listen, he was the biggest Willie whiner in his first 2-3 years in the league. But I'm going to tell you, he is just an incredible captain. He's one of the greatest hockey players to ever play this game. He's fascinating to listen to, just these small little stories like this, Rupper. And I'm sure that you have stuff in the memory bank that, you know what? I mean, stuff that you don't want to have, come out because respect for, Sid and the boys and stuff. But he just seems like you said, he's a superstar. And quite frankly, you talk about Billy G. Billy G was a special dude, man. I mean, I got to play with him for a cup of coffee in San Jose. We both got traded to San Jose at the deadline. And what an individual that guy is. Yeah. He is confident. Yeah. He is an insanely good hockey player. And not everybody can say those things to Sid. That's the whole point. Like, he wants to be treated normal, but name me guys on the team that are going to treat him like Billy G. Yeah. So
Rupper, another question I have for you. And I know we had you on when we were doing the live show, and I don't know if I ever asked you this, but what were you thinking during the outdoor game after you scored? You always scored in huge moments, eh? Doing the Jagr salute.
What was I thinking? I guess the one thing in my career that I really relished and I learned later on when I started to, I'll put it this way, going back to 2003 when we had Pat Burns as the coach. The next year, we won the Cup in 2003. The next training camp that we had, I remember we were playing – Gio, I don't remember at that time. We had you guys remember that in the league when we had 8 to 10 preseason games, something stupid. I don't even understand. So we come into training camp and I'm playing the first game. I'm playing the second game. I'm playing the third game. I'm like, I'm probably getting the next one off fourth. Say we played 8, I played 8. If we played 9, I played all of them. And so Burnsy comes up to me at one point, and Gio knows this. I was Burnsy's whipping boy, man. I was, and Gomer says this all the time. I actually ran into Gomer at Marty's outing, and Gomer was telling some stories, and he goes, the best thing about, my favorite part when we had Rupper is that I wasn't the whipping boy anymore. It was him. And so Pat was all over my shit, all over me all the time. And as the years went on, unfortunately, when Pat got sick and he was scouting for the Devils, I got this relationship with him that I saw a different side of him, and I started understanding. I started becoming more mature of what I needed to be as a player. But anyways, I'm playing every preseason game. I'm leading our team in points because I played every game. Most of you guys probably played half of them. And it was me, Langenberger, and Friesen, the same line that was in Game 7 or in the finals. And so he pulls me aside before we play against Boston, and he goes, how do you think you're playing in camp so far? And I'm like, I'm good. Our line is kind of connected, and we're getting some points, whatever. And he just cuts me off, and he goes, I effing hate how you're playing. It makes me want to puke. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, well, what do you mean? And he goes, if the other team doesn't want to rip your face off every single night, I have no use for you. I have no use for you. They need to rip your head off every night. And that wasn't really me as a player at that time. And I learned what he meant later on. And I started kind of relishing that role where I felt like in my career, like it was a powerful moment. I wasn't scoring every night, right? I wasn't scoring very often. But I knew that if I was on the road, I can lay a big hit. I can face wash Henrik Sedin. I can get booed by I love that I can maybe score the odd goal, and I can make 18,000 people boo me. Like, I don't know. I thought that was really cool. It was like, it felt like powerful to do it at times, you know. As a team, you want to do that, like, but then individually. So I always had this thing for Philly because I grew up in the Devils organization. We hated Philly, you know, and then I played in Pittsburgh. We hated Philly. I played for the Rangers. We hate Philly. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know anything else but that. But truth be told, I always wanted to be a Flyer. I had two posters in my bedroom as a teenager, and one of them was Lindros, Leclerc, and Renberg. I had the Legion of Doom line. Like, I wanted to play in Philly, and I wasn't ever playing there. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna, like, that was like a little game inside my head. And so I guess the point being is that we're going into Philly. I'm like, we want to win the game, but I want to piss people off. So did I know I was going to score a goal? Absolutely not. I didn't score enough to know that. But I wanted to piss people off in Philly. That's what I wanted to do. So when we're in the game there, we're down 2-0. I scored. I never thought about doing that before, but I did it. And I'll tell you what, the rest of the game, you know, Scotty Hartnell skates up to me before we're going off the ice, and he's telling me how embarrassing I am that I did that to, you know, I see Hartsey at the network now. He's an awesome guy, and we can joke about it now, but he was telling me how embarrassing I would do that to a Hall of Famer. And my thought process was like, no one's above anything. Like, we're on the ice all trying to win, man. Like, I don't care if you're Mario or Wayne. Like, I'm going to do what I need to do out here. You know what I mean? And but then the rest of the time we're taking faceoffs and I'm playing wing. Once the game, we ended up tying the game up 2-2. So I was able to get a second goal. So I know I'm really under their skin. I got our 2 goals in the game. It's tied 2-2 late in the game. And I'm out on the ice, D-zone faceoff. Claude Giroux is taking the draw. And the ref's getting ready to drop the puck. And he's just looking over to me and yelling at me, what a piece of you-know-what I am, because I did the Jagr salute. I'm like, these guys are all out of sorts right now. They just want to kill me.
Well, this was a 24/7 episode, right? Like, that was the Road to the Winter Classic, and a lot of guys were mic'd up and stuff. So Rupp, Giroux said something to someone on the face-off. He's like, did Rupper do the Jagr salute? Like, everybody was rattled.
They couldn't focus, man. They were so rattled that I did it. And, you know, did I know it was going to have that kind of impact? No, but I mean, I was sitting there, I'm like, all right, cool. So then that's when the rest of the way, Brad Richards gets the winner. Henrik Lundqvist stops the Danny B penalty shot. And it was a great win. But I think that was more of it. There was no thought going in it. I'll give you this Jagr story real quick, though. I'm All-Star game in LA a few years ago. I think it was when Jagr was in Florida. So I'm retired. I'm working NHL Network. We are in, I took my daughter, Maddie, with me as like a father-daughter trip. So I had to go work, and I went down and did our hits and whatever at the arena. And we kind of had like that day we were done early. And then I had the rest of the afternoon and evening open. So the deal was with Maddie is like, I'll take you to Disneyland for the day. So I come back to the hotel, and I'm walking in the hotel with one of the guys I work with, and all of a sudden Jagr comes walking, and he turns the corner and gets in the elevator, and we were walking towards that elevator. I just put my hand out, and it was this Tony Luffman I work with. I put my hand out, and I go, hey, tell him, just hang on a second. I don't want to get in the elevator with Jagr. And it wasn't anything to do with Jagr. I got nothing against Jagr. I kind of felt like
you pussed out, man. You pussed out right now.
But hold on,
your whole story's been amazing.
Yeah, let him finish.
Wait, let him finish.
This gets
You
better.
better. It better get better.
What, you're gonna tell us the elevator door's closing and he goes like that to you?
So I end up. I'm like, just wait. He goes up. I get in the elevator, go up on a different elevator. And so I go in the room, I get my daughter. We have a car, we have a rental car appointment like outside of LA because all the cars in downtown LA were sold out. So I had to take an Uber to this rental car place 2 miles outside of LA. So it's like this mom and pop rental car place. I walk in this rental car place with my daughter. There's one person, two people in there besides the workers. I look, it's Jagr sitting in the chair, renting a car. I'm like, oh my gosh. So there's nowhere to go now. So he turns around actually and looks at me and I go, hey, Jagr, how are you, man? And he goes, how are you? You know, good, you know, whatever. Good to see you or whatever. You know, I'm like, I don't even know if this guy knows who I am. And then, so he ends up, I end up, I'm like, you know what? I got to say something. I'm like, I'm not going to be like this. So I go up to him like, hey, Jagr, like, you know, I don't know if you remember like back in the Winter Classic, but I did the Jagr salute. And I just want you to know, man, like, I mean, you're one of the greatest players of the game we've had. I'm like, it was nothing personal. I had a job to do and it was piss people off. And that's what I did. And he goes, don't even worry about it, man. It's not a big deal at all. He goes, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And he goes, I thought it was kind of funny. I'm like, all right, good. I'm like, you may not have even thought twice about it, but I just want to tell you, like, hey, it was nothing about you. I just wanted to piss off people in Philly. And he's like, you did. I'm like, all right, cool. So then he turns around and he goes, Rupper, he's like, I just want to tell you, you do a really, really great job on TV. Like, I really enjoy watching. And I'm like, oh, geez, this guy's really nice. I'm like, thanks, bud. I'm like, yeah, that means a lot, man. Thank you. He goes, yeah. He's like, you're way better at this than you were as a hockey player. Like, not even close. And I'm like, nice. I'm like, you son of. And so I literally just, now we're laughing. I'm like, you son of a bitch. I'm like, it's time. I'm like, it's 1-1. We're done now. You know, whatever. And he just starts laughing. He's got a really good sense of humor about it, but he's just like, yeah, you weren't very good at hockey, but man, you're much better on TV. So I'm like, all right, Jagr, you got it, man. And so there was a side of him that I got to see there that was kind of funny. I'm like, I just had to happen. I had to run into him at some point.
What's a little closure on it, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to feel so bad about wondering if you insulted only the second highest scoring player in the history of the NHL. Last thing I'll ask you before we let you go, because you got your Cleveland Browns hoodie on. I'm not going to ask you about the Cleveland Browns, but I am going to ask you about the Buffalo Bills. Okay. And are you watching the Bills at all? Did you watch the Monday night game? JR was on with us yesterday, and he seems to think that the Bills are going the other way.
Going the other way? So I love what Buffalo's been doing. I was a bandwagoner last year, jumped on there. I think I want to see that team win. I love atmospheres like we saw last week of the snow and all those great things. I don't know, man. Like, you guys got to tell me. I've been caught up more in my Brown season, but I do know that Buffalo's kind of slid. So where are they at now? Are they still considered to be a top end team now?
That's what we were asking you. I don't know. You know what? I got enough problems on my hands with these guys that I don't know. I put it this way. Oh. If it's not the Browns, I want Buffalo to make some damage. I'm sick and tired of KC. I'm sick and tired of I don't want it to be the Ravens. I like those teams make me want to puke. So if it's not the Browns, I'm on the Buffalo wagon. Did you? We don't have to get into detail. Did you see the Odell Beckham Jr. Story that's been rumbling around about
a new one?
Some of the stuff he's into?
Oh no!
I don't.
Oh gosh, I'm afraid to look, man.
Yeah, don't go there. He's
don't do it.
He's into some some interesting stuff. Rupper, it's been a lot of fun, man. Can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us.
Yeah,
anytime, fellas. Hey,
we told Gio you said that you'd only join us because he was on, but we know that's not true.
No, I got to tell you something. I love Gio. He's one of the best teammates I had. I don't know if you guys want to hear that or not, but
I'm waiting for the butt. I'm waiting for the butt.
I want to hear it.
Here's the butt. He made life miserable for all of us big guys. And I'm going to tell you why. I was so sick of Gio. Gio, I love you to death, everybody, but like, if you weren't a good dude, it would have been easy to hate you, because Lou would come in the locker room, or any coach we ever had in New Jersey, and they would say, Lou would come in and be like, look at Brian. He's got the heart of a lion. He's got the heart. I'm like, heart of a lion. He's so little, but so tough, and loud in front of the net. The heart of a lion. I wish if we had 23 Brian Giontas, we'd be, okay. And then I remember like Brent Sutter would come in, or we've got guys on this team that are 6'2", 3, 4, 5, playing like a bunch of, and just bleeping everything out. And they're like, look at Gio over there. I'm like, oh, we get it. You wish that 6'5", 240-pound Mike Rupp had the heart of a lion like Brian Gionta. We get it. We don't have to keep saying this. So they just made us all like, and next thing you know, I'm jumping out there. I'm biting off more I could chew, because I got to go try to fight someone that I shouldn't be fighting, because they're going to beat the wheels off me, because I'm trying to be like Brian Gionta.
Hey, listen, I'm going to be completely honest. I remember those Lou, he'd come in, and Lou would have those moments. He would flip out on us. And he would come in, like not the coach. Lou would come into the room and start just tearing into everyone. And then he gets to that, and he starts saying that. I literally wanted to crawl into my stall and out the other side of the wall, because I'm like, Lou, I understand what you're doing. I appreciate that you love the way I'm playing, but you're killing me with inside this room, because now we get out of this, everyone's going to be looking at me like, oh, yeah, little teacher's pet over there. He's fine. Everyone else is getting yelled at. Like, so – Rubber, I feel you. I wanted to crawl back in my skin and freaking just outside that door and be like, Lou, I love you, but please, you're not helping me with the boys at all. At all.
He didn't love you enough. He didn't match that Montreal offer.
Yeah.
Hey.
It's amazing,
didn't have the C attached to it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. We were having discussions last night with Gio. And Gio was throwing attitude out to us, and he wanted respect. I think he wrote in there, and we were calling him high maintenance because it's Gio.
Listen, I'm going to cut you off right there, Rivs, because we set this up, Rupper, last week, right? Hey, we're going Friday, 10 o'clock, lock it in. So last night I sent a text to Rivs and Petey. I go, listen, what time tomorrow? And these guys start going off. Well, what'd we say? What time is good for you? Rupper says whatever time Gio wants to do it, we'll do it. Whatever he wants. You know what I mean? And just going off on me because I wanted to confirm. I want to know what time I need to be on. That's it.
Your tone in your text was very pushy.
Listen.
And
Simple, what time we on tomorrow got pushy real quick.
Pay attention, Gio. Pay attention. It's all.
What a great episode, boys. This was
Rupper,
a lot of fun,
I love you, buddy. Thanks for
I
coming on,
love you
man.
guys, dude. I love what you guys are doing. Big
Thank
fan of what you guys are doing. Anytime I can be on, let me know. It's just fun. I love it.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you tomorrow then.
All right, sounds good. Give me a shout.
All right. See you. That's a wrap on another episode of After the Whistle. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, After the Whistle, and at Craig Rivet 52, at the Instigator 76. And you can find us, as you already know, on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, and anywhere else where you can get your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to spread the word.